Now, welcome back. And Mtuombe. So
Sammy, I think that's the best thing. We really need prayers. I think tomorrow bring bishops here so that they just pray for us.
There's actually a national prayer service on.
It's coming
Thursday. Is it Thursday or tomorrow? Tomorrow, actually.
Which
Wednesday.
one?
I can't remember, no.
Which one? The one for thugs and thieves.
Oh, sorry. Senator, don't go there.
Yeah.
But
at least thugs and crooks and thieves need prayers.
Kuna national prayer dedication, so we'll pray.
The problem is
I was saying, sorry.
I
was reintroducing the session.
Don't go to church and pray and you are killing people, you are murdering, you are stealing.
During break, Senator, your mic,
you want to go and pray.
Senator, your mic is off. During break, a conversation continued, and now we have to make transition because you want to talk about things that don't divide us as much, which is on the National Government Constituency Development Fund. The National Assembly, like I told you, has been conducting sessions. Gitrongo Mukunji, let me begin with you on this one. Why is it that we must keep the NG-CDF despite several judgments coming from the courts saying that it is unconstitutional? And what are the chances of success this time?
I want to say that some NG-CDF, National Government Constituency Development Fund, is a fund under siege. And the reason why it is under siege is because of a number of interests around that fund. First, this is not a fund that was established after the new constitution. It is a fund that has been there now for close to 20 years. Mm-hmm. And it is a fund that really targets very specific sectors of our development. And it's devolved under the constituency level. Mm-hmm. The rulings of the court, which we have got to acknowledge, really are also devoid of the fact that this fund is already a fund that is well utilized and used in the constituency level. They look at the legal part, and clearly that is why members of parliament are working so hard to ensure that we ensure whatever is not aligning with the Constitution of Kenya really aligned. But I will say this, Sam, and this is my belief. Mm-hmm. In Kenya, we have a way of undoing things that are working for us. We have a way of doing things, trying to reinvent the wheel, whereas there are things that we can say that needs to be supported.
Right.
NG-CDF is a fund that has actually been very impactful. Only 5% of NG-CDF fund is used for administrative purposes. Yeah. Only 5%. That means out of the 58 billion normally in the budget or thereabout, a very small amount of money is used to manage CDF, and the rest goes directly to do projects that are very visible on the ground. Mm-hmm. And I believe, yes, we talk about devolution, but one of the challenges that was brought in by devolution is the fact that we devolved jobs, powers, but on matters development, we really did not do much on the devolvement of that. Mm-hmm. Almost close to all counties are using close to 80% of the money that is devolved to them for recurrent expenditures and salaries. So it tells you, you would 80%? Go... Yes, almost
that
80%.
Would be illegal because...
It is absolutely illegal, but they can do nothing about it. Actually, I'll give you an example of Embu. Embu does not do more than 2 billion Kenya shillings on their development budget.
And what is the total budget?
Oh, it goes around 7.2 billion. So it tells you that we have a challenge that really NG-CDF comes and solves and curbs immediately.
Right.
So I propose that while we are looking on how to ensure NG-CDF does not go away, we also need to ensure it is legalized. I know we have been working very hard in the National Assembly, but I believe
Yeah.
There is also an appeal case that is ongoing to ensure that NG-CDF does not go anywhere. Last Friday, and you know, Sam, what has happened to our since we got into the JSS is there has been lack of infrastructure in all schools on matters to do with rolling out the CBC program.
Yeah.
In Manyata constituency, we rolled out laboratories, mobile laboratories, to all the schools. We know the challenges we have with capitation. Capitation in schools cannot even ensure that we have anything that can work and ensure that our students learn and are able to get what is supposed to be gotten. But the NG-CDF really has done a lot to ensure that these things come and alive. So my point is very clear that we have to align and ensure we align with the law, but we cannot reinvent the wheel and say, trash this, let's start afresh. We did that with SHA. We have had a lot of problems. Because when we say we are trashing this and starting a new thing, there is always a serious gap that.
All right, I hear much more.
The new funding model in the university that we have adopted is without piloting is actually another crisis. Because you find that now many universities, by the time we get to next year, we will need 350 billion to sustain the new funding model.
Okay, just hold it there. I'll get to you, Chairman. But Senator Onyonka, you've been at the National Assembly and now at the Senate. You've managed CDF, now you're not. And all these arguments and judgments that have come from the courts are that there has to be a distinction of roles, that Parliament is supposed to be the legislative house. And because of that, there has been several amendments to remove the role of a member of Parliament. I think the latest one was about 2023.
2023, yes.
Right.
The last of the amendments we did.
Yeah. So, Senator, is it even possible that you can entrench into the Constitution something that has been found to be unconstitutional by different courts?
No. What you see my colleagues doing is basically do what I call a band-aid approach to constitutionalism. The reality is that by you accepting that CDF should remain in the structure of administration that we have, the reality of it is that you are changing the very DNA, the very structure of our administration. Let me give you an example, Sami. Members of Parliament are supposed to conduct certain functions. The drafters of the Constitution, and in fact, according to the interpretation of the court, and that includes the Supreme Court, is that if you agree, and it doesn't matter what you call it, it doesn't matter how you dress it, it doesn't matter how you shape it, if you agree that money is going to be allocated to a member of Parliament, which then he has a hand in administering and managing, the reality is that then you change that structure. Let me give you an example why. Then it means let the women rep also be given money, which she gets. Then it means allow the senator to also get the money, which he doesn't get and which we don't want anyway. And allow the member of the county assembly to also get that money. So in other words, what we are talking about is this. Let us look for another way on how we are going to oversight ourselves. All right, from now on, let us agree that politicians are going to be running kitties. This kitties is what makes them sustain and keep themselves in office. This kitty is the one which has made it impossible for the legislature to actually oversight the executive. Why? Because normally it is the executive which comes out with the budget. When the executive comes out with that budget, if the executive wants anything, including wanting to hide the seal, all right, and you go and pass it quietly, maybe as an omnibus bill. The reality for that is that there is a quid pro quo that is agreed. MPs are going to be given a certain amount of money to do roads. MPs are going to be given a certain amount of money to go and give for quote-unquote bursaries. We are saying all these things must be collapsed and let us take them to the county. And you see, let me explain to my brothers, including my brother that I really admire because he's been a friend of mine and he's a young politician. We are not saying we collapse CDF. We are saying let's domicile it at the county. If you want to oversight it when it's at the county. I'll give you an example.
But what function should that money be used on?
Let me give you an example. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, if you take the total amount, which is 45, how much? 45 billion shillings, isn't it? Which is what CDF is basically given. Add more for the women rep. How much are you giving the women rep? It's about 200 million times, how many are they? 47.
Yeah.
You're talking about another 3 billion. So the total amount of money that you are looking at, if you look at the CDF amount, what we are saying is very simple. Can we agree what to do with our roads? Can we classify our roads properly so that we decide that all roads, because after all, otherwise, other than the Kenya National Highway Authorities, can we domicile all our roads at the county government? Because the county is the engine of development and growth at the local level. But I'm not saying that you remove the member of parliament from playing a role, and even critical roles in making sure that if there are any functions that are needed to be performed or needed to be effected by the member of parliament, my argument is very simple. His role is purely oversight. So the role of me is oversight. The role of an MCA is oversight. The role of the women rep, her money should come to the county government where the money can be ring-fenced. The argument that, oh, this money is going to come to the governor and governors are thieves. MPs, we are as thievious as our governors. But when we go to the county government, we can all sit together and as a team. Remember, there was supposed to be the county board. There was something that was put which has never been effected. That is the place where we are supposed to sit as members of parliament, as members of the Senate, as members of the MCA, if need be, and the governor. And you discuss and agree. These roads are county roads. These ones are going to be done by the national government. These health facilities, they are up to level 4. These are actually hospitals that the county can manage. National level. In other words, the intergovernment relations between what you have right now
and what's to come. All right, Senator, I hear you. Chairman Murugara, so how will you do it? Is it possible? Because you remember the question of BBI.
Yeah.
There are some amendments that were proposed in the Constitution to create new constituencies. And I remember that time, members of parliament who came to this show said, it may be unconstitutional now, but once you entrench it into the Constitution, it will be constitutional. Is that even a viable argument?
Two things. BBI, the biggest problem with BBI was how it was initiated. And that's why it fell by the wayside. The initiation was wrong from day one. And even the courts would not have sustained it, including initiating those constituencies. The whole was murky, and therefore it had to fall by the wayside. There are a few things my colleague senator has said, which in my view are unconstitutional. We cannot move along that path because a member of parliament would, a member of the National Assembly would not find any place under the constitution in the counties unless we want to change the constitution so that we are able to say they have roles to play in the county. The county assemblies are under the county MCAs themselves. The senators are their oversight and the governors are the CEOs.
Yes.
We have no role in that. Now, number one, CDF, popularity. My committee was charged with the task of evaluating and collating the results of the constituencies, 290 constituencies. And soon the report is going to be tabled. The truth is we had over 98% acceptance for CDF. It is the only one that has visible development in the rural countryside, especially in the countryside. CDF has nothing to do with the counties. It is national government revenue.
Yes.
And I hear senators talking about it, that it eats into the money of the counties. We have what is called division of revenue. We start with 8, whereby the counties get their share, the national government gets its share. From the national government share, CDF comes from there to go and do the core mandate of the national government in the constituencies. Therefore, there is no way you can marry the CDF with any of the county funds and the county functions. So when they say we take the money to the county, there is a bit of a lacuna there because there is no law that is going to support it. Number one. Number two, remember when CDF was started in the year 2000 and 2002, members of parliament...
Just 203, 204.
Yeah, 204.
Yes.
Members of parliament had a big role to play. Because that time, they thought it was a way of developing their constituencies. Eventually, the principle of separation of powers came into play, where it was said members of parliament are supposed to be oversight of the national government. Therefore, we have to separate the two. And this is why the National Assembly, even when Honorable Nyonka was there, he must have played a role in amending the laws from 2015 all the way to 2023. There have been successive amendments to remove the role of a member of parliament from the CDF. Today, as we speak, the member of parliament has no role whatsoever to play in the management of CDF.
Sammy, why did Raila say that they are doing roads?
But if Raila says that, Raila said it is the law.
Baba is Baba.
Mheshimiwa Murugara, please. Mheshimiwa Murugara, don't fall for that. You are making an argument. Please finish.
Thank you. It flows like this. We have made successive amendments to remove the role of a member of parliament from CDF.
No.
And we have done it.
Yeah.
If there is any place where a member of parliament under the NG-CDF Act has a role to play, I invite Honorable Nyonka to cite that section. We look at it down.
But do members of National Assembly actually have a role?
We have no role apart from oversight.
Sammy, can I come in?
Just hold on,
Sorry.
Honorable. Apart from oversight,
Chairman,
there is no other
when he
role.
started the show, Mheshimiwa Mukunji told us that he, during recess, he was disbursing resources for bursary.
Exactly.
During recess, some of your colleagues have been busy unveiling projects.
This is what we do. Oversight.
So that's oversighting.
Oversight.
Giving bursary checks is oversighting.
Please,
Senator,
what stops the president from issuing title?
Chairman.
No.
Chairman, let's finish.
Listen to me.
And Karibu Sana, Stephen Dishu, former Speaker of the Kiambu County
Honorable
Assembly.
Mukunji, what he was doing was not wrong.
Yes.
Because CDF, which is anchored in the constituency, a constituency is cited by a member of parliament.
And that's part of the problem at the High Court, because they said a constituency is not a unit of service delivery.
Absolutely.
It is a unit for election.
So go for referendum.
To elect
Let us go for referendum.
of the people going to the National Assembly. But how do you cure that in the amendment you're proposing?
Because once it is entrenched in the constitution, it is now recognized as a center of development.
Negative.
But doesn't that go against the constitutional?
It cannot be against.
Which has got two centers of power.
It cannot go against the constitution.
That's two centers of power. National and county. Nothing else.
Number one, the two centers are on separate governments.
No.
All right? Separate governments. This is the county government and the national government. Remember, the CDF is not going to go between the two of them. It goes to the national government. It's part of administration of the national government.
Which structure?
All right? The structure is going to be this way, Honorable Onyonka. It's going to be through the constitutional amendment, number one. Number two, we have national legislation that will govern our CDF.
That is all fake.
Okay.
That is all fake.
All right?
We go for referendum for you to change the structure of the constitution.
So can I finish?
We go for referendum. Let them bring a referendum.
Can I just finish? Because he's shouting forth and
I'm not shouting, I'm just talking.
Chairman,
don't talk.
Chairman Murugara.
Shout.
No, Chairman Murugara.
I'm sorry.
Let's not go back there.
Let's go slowly and debate like people who have gone to school.
30 seconds, Chairman.
We are learned,
Finish.
right? It's not a question of being interrupted every now.
Yeah.
So what we are saying is this. Once it gets into the constitution, and constitution, you can amend it provided you use the right procedure. All right? The initiation is the most important.
So through the amendment process, you can make what is unconstitutional to be constitutional?
It cannot be unconstitutional because, number one, it's only unconstitutional when it contravenes.
Sammy,
right?
Sammy.
And there's already a finding.
Sammy.
Because the finding...
What did the Supreme Court rule? The fact that CDF exists completely distorts the very structure of the Constitution. What we are saying is very simple. Let these people who believe that CDS is legit and is popular bring a referendum. Let's go for a referendum.
Okay. And I think we'll get there at some point.
Yes.
But
forget about this band of fake things they're doing they're holding public hearings when they're being given money to bribe voters to say, this thing is very good, it's very good.
All right, Senator.
We have become
I don't know if before you left Parliament,
is this a political rally which you invited here for?
It's just charlatans.
We have one gentleman here who is turning this into a political rally. We can also do political rallies.
Don't be distracted.
Unfortunately.
Don't be distracted.
I thought we came here to argue on the basis of the law in a manner that shows we're going to school.
And that's what you're doing.
But Senator Onyonka is shouting and throwing up.
Please hear me. That's how Senator chooses to express himself.
Thank you.
We will allow him his time, but Senator, please allow others to speak.
Yeah, to speak.
You know, I asked you so that I go. I don't know why you are wasting my time here.
I told you not give up.
If we are wasting his Kenyans. Sorry, Sam. No. Does it require your permission to go? You should just walk out.
What do you make of this?
I'm courteous enough to
story
ask
about
for permission.
NG-CDF?
You don't ask.
NCDF.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you very much, Sam. I must apologize for being late in this show that is very, very popular, and everybody is watching it. I got some problem with the jam, but let me inform actually the honorable members here that I was in Parliament. I was among the people who actually structured the CDF before it became NG-CDF.
Yes.
We did it with the honorable, the person who brought the motion was Mheshimiwa Muriuki Karue, member for Okalau. And I was there, and I was among the very small group that came up with the idea, or born the idea, why do we have to have a constituency development fund? And I would like to inform my fellow leaders here, as well as the nation, why we decided to come with the CDF. One, it was because we people who came from the opposition zones, we were discriminated by government. You could not get anything from government if you were from the opposition zone. There was no development, there was no money for roads, there was nothing. The little money we were having for Harambes was not even enough.
Yeah.
So we said, let's come up with a system or a structure that will all equalize the entire country by creating a fund that will go to every constituency legally, so to speak. And so when the motion came in the floor of the House, we were surprised that it got support from across the board, including the members of KANU then, and ourselves, because even some members of KANU were also crying the way we were crying. And therefore, that's how we came up with the CDF. And when it came now, it meant that there will be equal distribution of money to the constituencies. And so the money that I will get in my constituency of Juja, it will be the same amount of money like in Baringo Central, where the president came from. Or Kajiado North, where the Vice President Setoto came from. So we try to equalize and make sure that there is equity and equality in distribution of resources. However, two things happened. One, the law says that the MPs, and they are here, if you pass a law, touching them, they can't benefit from it. It is for posterity. So by the time I was finishing my term in Juja, that crop of MPs, we could not now get the CDF to utilize it the way we wanted. It had to be...
When did you finish your term?
202.
202, okay.
Yeah, so the people who came after 202 are the ones who benefited. And now, our idea was that we should be responsible in deciding, when money has now come to Juja constituency, which road is bad.
Correct.
Which school needs to be uplifted?
Yeah.
Which place needs to be connected with water? Which place needs to be connected with electricity, stuff like that. But we realized that there was a problem. And this is what now the honorable members are arguing about, on whether, as member of parliament, what's your role?
Yeah.
Is it to get the money and go literally and do the roads, do the schools, electricity, water, stuff like that? And so we realized, but this is when, after we had left, that a member of parliament's role, according to the law, is oversight. But now we realized that we are now going back to where we were. Because this money now, when your role is now to oversight, it is now going back to the same government that was refusing you the money and the opportunity to develop your constituency.
So let me ask you this, because at the moment...
And that is where now, that's where the problem still is. We left it there, And I'm surprised that about 10, 15, 20 years later, the steel problem is still,
actually, the CDF kit has really grown because in 2003, 2004, every constituency out of the 210 then was receiving 6 million shillings.
6 million, yes.
Today we are talking about 161.4 million to 216.4 million for the 2024-2025 budget. So over time, there has been amendments to remove functions that would appear to be devolved functions to ensure that NG-CDF is only taking care of national-looking programs, including 40% of resources of CDF is allowed to be used on education programs which have been recognized in law as development projects. So the question is, what makes it so difficult for the national government, in this case the executive, to implement these programs that you have to require the involvement of the constituency structure?
First of all, Sam and the honourable members, let me tell you now what is happening on the ground. Because sasa mimi, I'm not a member of parliament, I'm not there. Sasa mimi mtu wa ground. And I can tell you now what the ground is. The CDF has been politicized. And Wanjiko there has been inducted to know that there is something called CDF that you give me a check for my child's school fees. And so, anangojea aende pale kwa ofisi ya mheshimiwa apatiwe hiyo check. Aende apeleke shule, mtoto yake asome. So it is already a politicized, structured thing that even Wajiko himself and my brother here, Richard, I was with his father, Zachary, a very brilliant man who was, he was a slow talker, but when Zachary stood up to speak in Parliament, we all kept quiet. Because he was not a joker, and whatever came out from his mouth was really, but I'm telling him...
Does he get it from his father?
I'm telling him, I'm saying this, that the CDF structure has been politicized, and now Wajiko, even if we go for the referendum that Mheshimiwa Onyonka is talking about, Wajiko, Mheshimiwa, will vote for it.
All right.
Because...
Let's
Let me finish.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you know I'm a ground man, and we have been told to listen to the ground. And I'm telling you what the ground is. That ground there, with Wanjiko, when you go to that referendum,
it will pass.
They will say, "In kitu yetu
Okay.
And I will go and say, do you want them to give you the check, or do you want your child to go for free education for free?
Okay.
Absolutely. Let us give the voter those options.
Yes, quickly. I'll finish with you, but let me hear from you.
Let's give the voter the option.
Thank you so much.
Agree. But that's the ground
for my speaker.
But let us tell our people that...
Now,
Senator,
I want to say that it would be catastrophic to actually not give money to NG-CDF. And you'd rather remove completely
the county government.
The role of
the county government. You hear is the role of senators.
Just a minute.
Everybody home.
Now you are on Gitonga Murugara here. You are coming on me now.
No, I'm not on you. I'm just saying. In fact, beyond them.
The other Gitonga. So
dissolve the county government.
For that.
Let me say this.
He's already.
No.
Senator, you cannot interrupt the
host.
Can I speak?
Please, please speak.
I want to say it would be very catastrophic. And this is something that I've seen our country do many times. Cause crisis, put people into a lot of problems for the sake of some changes that we already have an establishment going on. And I repeat this again, Sam, that we have seen what has happened during the transition from NHIF to SHA. We don't want a repeat of that. And I want to say that NG-CDF, as many would say that, members of parliament, devolved functions are supposed to be on the county level, the fact of the matter is, what NG-CDF does cannot be overlooked. And the conversation around,
when
I encourage Onyonka and the rest of the senators to come in on this, to really understand what it takes to actually say, this thing has been working like this, let us put it aside.
So,
instead of saying...
Explain to me in practical sense.
Just a minute. Instead of saying, okay, this is working like this. The Constitution says this. How do we make sure that this thing that works? Because we are not robots. Okay. We are not people who say that we are beyond change.
Tell me this, and
to ensure
you can chip in also after this.
Yes.
When the NG-CDF sponsors construction of a perimeter wall for a post office, police station or a police post, what makes it difficult for the national
to do such
coordination, the interior
I want to answer you.
Yeah.
There are so many things that I engage in my constituency because I look at myself as a person that really goes there to reach out on development in the national level. If you come to Manyata constituency, I have a plan on matters electricity for the constituency. And I make sure that, just a minute, Sam.
Should you, knowing that
just a minute,
is to oversight.
No. What is this oversight are we talking about?
Mheshimiwa, I'm still with you. Representation, legislation, and oversight.
Yes.
Should you have to go and have a master plan on electricity in your constituency?
Just a minute. I want to tell you this. Part of representation is representing your constituency in the national cake and ensuring that
National
it gets
Assembly,
it.
not cake.
Not cake.
Wait, everything starts from the National Assembly.
The cake.
No, Sam. Everything starts from the National Assembly.
Senator,
We make the budget, the national government budget is made at the National Assembly.
Like
That's
what is
where,
happening now.
Resources
are being shared.
What we are doing right now, today in the afternoon, we are going to be having the Finance Bill 2025 landing in the National Assembly. And you have got to look at what your constituency is getting. Represent your constituency and ensure it gets what it's supposed to get.
Let's close the
And this is why I'm saying, on top of NG-CDF,
I think I should.
REREC, matters electricity, matters of water, you have got to represent your constituency and ensure you get something.
Chairman, talk to me about that separation of roles.
Yeah.
You have so much work.
First and foremost.
You're also chairman of Justice Legal Affairs Committee.
Yes.
And you still have to go and decide which region gets whatever.
Apart from in the budget where we share CDF equally, I do not sit in the committees of CDF in the constituencies.
Do you have a development plan?
Number two, nobody does. No member of parliament sits in those committees. NG-CDF is run by a board, the NCGF board. Number two, we have the committees, the CDFC, which is set in the constituencies. It is the one that decides how the money is going to be used. The truth is this money does not belong to anybody else. It belongs to the national government. And the national government, which has vast interests, is expansive. It has so much to do, has decided the way I want to use part of my money is I'll send it to a constituency where, with the help of the people, I will be able to do the following within my mandate. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why we are saying there's nothing unconstitutional, apart from the role of the member of parliament, if there is any in that act. And I refer you to the judgment of the High Court, which was delivered, I think, in September 2023. The issue they took is, even if you have made all these amendments, having looked at this particular act, there are still traces of semblance for a member of parliament to be involved. The reason it's so popular with the members of parliament is this. It is a national government fund. The money is used to do national government fund projects under the member of parliament, who is the overseer or the oversighter of the national government. Therefore, I take credit for it, just as I do when the government does a dam, it does a road, electricity, I also take credit. So that is why the dam thing is extremely popular with the members of parliament.
Should you take credit?
But to say...
should you take credit?
I should. The reason is this. I represent the people of Tharaka. If a tarmac road is brought there by the national government, sincerely, it is me who has gone to the national government because
National Assembly. But
I am the link between. I'm the link between the people and the national government. The money came through me through the National Assembly.
Let's
be sincere.
The money doesn't pass through you, Mheshimiwa.
Which money doesn't?
It doesn't.
No. But
when we go to National Assembly, this is where we allocate money.
You're right? Very unfair to me. He's telling you the truth. The money comes through them. Why are you refusing it? He tells you the money comes through them.
How?
No,
It is not
we
the
are saying-
national government
we are saying-
technocrats who organize how this money,
The money
is going to
is
be shared. So we are saying, if you want to introduce CDF so that they have money which they can bring to their areas, I also need that same money. Because I'm elected, my job is
You
to
also should
oversight.
take credit.
Wait.
You should also take credit,
No,
Senator.
you are constituent. Let me finish my argument.
You should also take
Let
credit.
me finish.
Yes.
Let me finish the argument. The way they want.
No,
Next
by
time,
the way,
Sammy, next time,
Sam,
hold on.
I've just
Next
remembered
time when we
Yes,
hold.
many
next time-
senators, when governor is launching a program,
Listen,
many senators.
I'll hear you after him.
Listen,
Okay.
next time when you hold elections and one candidate wins and one loses, let's change the constitution so they can always come together. The one who wins, the one who loses becomes number two, they form a coalition. If you want to bring CDF, let's go for a referendum so that the public can decide. When you want to spend government money, how letters are being shared in public by MPs, how they've been given TSC, that is what they love. What we are saying, we want a government which uses structures which has fairness and equity. He can get a road, he's under JLAC. He can even get money to go and build a court in his area. That's what happens.
From what
if
source?
he was in the, he said
From
he
what
brings
source?
the money. That's
I'm
how
sorry.
they go to State House to negotiate so that they can't check the executive. CDF has become that item that the presidency uses, calls the members of parliament and tells them, how much do you want for me to give you for your road? Specials. They know what I mean. 800 million to go and do what? Maram roads, that is passed. You want evidence? I bring it for you. You want to do water? Yes. They give him, if he's the chairman of the water committee, 1.6 billion.
No, Sam, I've got to say something.
You see, he's asking me, why am I crying?
No, listen.
That is the marginalization of crooked political arrangements where people are given money
have shared
because
platform.
they must
Let me
be
suggest-
loyal to a government.
Let me
I have
suggest-
shared platform
Mheshimiwa-
with many
Mheshimiwa
senators.
Mkunje.
Just 1 second. I've shared platform with many senators. And when there is a launch of any project with the governor, they always say, you are congratulating the governor, but you're not congratulating the person that has made sure that this money has gotten to the county.
Why?
It is through the Senate that
But
they
is that a
ensure.
fact?
Their constitution.
No, it's a fact. Why can't the National Assembly, why can't the national government?
Surely Kenyans
from
know.
Nairobi.
All right.
No.
Let's make transition.
Why are you having a problem?
He's saying
Why are you
I
having
should
a
get that
problem
money
with
and
the
build roads.
Senator,
Let us
Why
all
having
get
a
it.
problem
We'll
with
build
them
roads.
taking
No, we
credit?
don't have a problem. Let's all get the money now.
Very good.
Let me sum it up.
You give them.
Just
give
make sure-
senators,
just
give
make
women
sure
rep, give
Senator,
The money is used well.
Yes.
You know,
Give everybody the money.
Senator, Chairman, please.
Give everybody the money.
Since Senator and Mheshimiwa Mkunje are quiet, let's all be quiet. The truth of the matter is that resources are shared through the National Assembly, division of revenue between the national government and the county government. And then the resources shared to the counties, Dora, it has to be agreed upon between the Senate
And to the National Assembly.
and the National Assembly. After that,
Then
there's
it
Kara,
passes
county
on to the
allocation. No, wait.
We are not
county
taking
allocation.
that nonsense of
Just wait.
oversight money. We don't want it.
No, this is not about nonsense. I'm talking
So that
about
thing will not
the
pass.
County Allocation of Revenue
he's
Act,
going to
which is
defend
passed
It will
by
not
the Senate.
pass.
Senator,
We have
please.
said we don't want it.
Anyway, your mic is off. So, County Allocation of Revenue Act, which is passed by the Senate, and it shares the revenue between the counties in accordance with the formula agreed upon as by the Senate itself, upon the recommendation of the County Commission on Revenue Allocation that shares those resources amongst the counties. So there's nowhere that anyone can claim that it's coming to account because of them. It's the structure of the Constitution, really.
Let's sum it up, Sam.
No, we're making a transition to the question of the public sale. Last week, there's a conversation that